my people. And that's going to be my focus today, my people. And I'm not a preacher. Brother Eric asked me if I want to speak here or in the pulpit. I want to make sure that if folks see any video or hear anything, I wasn't in anybody's pulpit. So I'm here at the podium. So I'm not preaching, I'm speaking. 1 Peter 2:9. But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who have called you out of the darkness into the marvelous light. When I read that, it almost seems like that was written after the plight of African Americans. You know, when you think about being called out of the darkness and royal priesthood, but we know that was written before. And today when I focus on, my people, I'm focused on the legacy of my people. And, that legacy includes, we've been called Negroes. We've been called colored. We've been called black. We've been called Afro-Americans, but they decided that we didn't all have afros, so maybe we should call them African-Americans. But even that term, doesn't satisfy, because some people say that we all haven't been to Africa, so why are we called African-Americans? So we've been called a lot of different things, but today you're just simply going to be called my people. And my people, we've been chosen to be God's example of overcomers. I want you to think about the history of our people and what all we have had to overcome every step of the way. You start with slavery, having to overcome slavery. And as a young lady came out and danced today, imagine that being your life every single day. How many people would just give up and say, I quit, I surrender, I'll do whatever you tell me to do? But we fought and overcame slavery. Then you had sharecropping. We know what sharecropping what sharecroppers went through and had to overcome that. But not only are we God's chosen example of overcomers, but we also God's example of persistence. There have been many times in history where we've asked for freedom. We've asked for rights, voting rights. We've asked for rights to be able to do this or do that. And we would always be told, well, come back tomorrow. And what did we do? We showed up, we knocked on the door. It's tomorrow. We're looking for, what you promised us. Well, come back in a couple hours. What did we do? We came back in a couple hours and we kept knocking on the door. We were never deterred and turned around and just say, forget it. It's never going to happen. We kept being persistent and kept fighting to get what rightfully belonged to ours. And we eventually stopped knocking on the door and asking. We started becoming barrier breakers and we started knocking down doors. And so we're God's chosen example of barrier breakers. You think about all of those individuals, the Jackie Robinsons and individuals who were the first African American to do this and do that. They didn't do it, because they were given the right to do it. They did it because they were good. They stood the test and they believed in God. And so we are barrier breakers. We're also God's chosen example of excellence. You think about music. You think about African American music, excellence. You think about movies. I went to see Black Panther last night, and it is an awesome movie. So when we are given the chance, man, we can be excellent. And it's funny sometimes how we do something as African Americans, and you get all this praise, like, wow, that's amazing. And you almost get that feeling like, people feel like, well, I didn't think you could do that because no African American has ever done that before. No, we just need to be given the chance and we can show you how excellent we are and judge us according to the right standards. Don't judge us according to anybody else's standards, but judge us according to the right standards. The same standards you judge other folk by, judge us by that. And I guarantee you that you will realize that we are excellent. I want to let you know also that we are royal priesthood. We are kings. Look at these kings and queens up here. We are kings and we are queens. And that's important because we haven't always been told that. We've been told that we're thugs, we're losers, we're second class. But when we realize that we're kings and queens and we act that way, you will be amazed and surprised at the things that we can do when we get that confidence in ourselves. That I am a king, that I am a queen. You'll be surprised at what we can do. We are the salt of the earth. We are the light of the world. And so I want to encourage us today to stop looking at our faults and look at our accomplishment. Nothing bothers me more than to look at Facebook, and all the time it's like we as African Americans say that only black people would do this. I'm not going to support black businesses because of this. You know, black people going to always be late and this and that. Man, let's stop looking at the negative and let's look at the accomplishments. Look at what we have overcome. Some of you all lived during the time period when you couldn't go into certain stores, when you had to sit outside. So it hadn't been long ago that we couldn't do certain things. So just the fact that we're able to do is amazing. So let's stop looking at the negative things. Let's look at the accomplishments that we have made. And it's just things like, you know, because when we look at the negatives, you know, of course, other folk look at the negative. And I'm going to use this one example, and I hope all my school folk don't get upset with me, but, and I've been harping on this for years. We get on our young African-American males about the sagging clothes. Guess what? I don't like it. I hate it. But is it worth getting suspended for? Is it worth sending a kid home? And the reason that they say the sagging clothes were so bad was because kids could put guns and this and that. I don't know of any African American who shot up in a school. But yet they're getting suspended for wearing these sagging clothes. So, I mean, make it make sense to me. Yes, pull your clothes up, look nice, look decent. But if that's the style, let's help them to make the style work for them. Let's teach them how when they go to an interview, you dress up, you put on a shirt and tie, you go to the interview, versus making them feel like, you know, that they're away. Because then kids, you know, that they get turned off about school. I can't go to school. They want me to dress like these other kids. And so we have to not, you know, look at the negative. Let's look at the positives. Let's find the positives, and let's not down ourselves. Let's lift us up. You know, back when you all grew up, you had the afros. I'm sure people, you know, talk negative about the afros, but that was your style. They're, you know, sagging pants. I don't like them, but it's their style. And some kids actually dressed up and look, you know, nice, because what we told them was, we don't want to see your underwear. So guess what kids started doing? Putting on basketball shorts. So now you can't see the underwear. So, and that's one of my points, is that anytime we try to stop our folks, we always find a way to make it work for us. So let's look at the positives. We were called out of the darkness of slavery into the marvelous light of freedom. Called out of the darkness of segregation into the marvelous light of opportunity, and called out of the darkness of second-class citizenship into the marvelous light of first-class living. And I really want to focus on this one here. We are a peculiar people. We are a peculiar people. Man, we got to have it our way. When it comes to food, music, and dress, we like to have a little something extra in it. And that extra is called soul. We got to have a little bit of soul in it. You know, don't just take the hamburger and mix it up and make me some meatloaf. You got to put a little something extra in that meatloaf, put a little soul in it. And that's what we like. And not just that, but, you know, we all have our conversations. And when, you know, we do certain things, if we don't like hot sauce, well, you ain't black. You know, if you can't dance, you ain't black. You know, if you don't like to shout or do certain things at church, well, you ain't black. You know, so when we ain't got soul, we question our blackness. And we've all said that in, you know, in a joking way, but we all do that because we like that soul in what we do. Everything that we do, we like to put a little soul in it. You know, you see the brothers out there, you give them a baseball cap, they can't wear that baseball cap to the front. They got to tilt it to the side. Yeah, you know it. There you go. You know, you get the national anthem and you let us sing it. We can't just go sing it like it was written. We got to put a little extra into it. You know, Whitney Houston. Now, we're not going to do like the lady did the other night. You know, we're going to make it work. We're going to do it the Marvin Gaye, the Whitney Houston style. So we're going to put a little soul in it when we're involved in it. My people have been challenged, chastised, mistreated, belittled, deprived of opportunities, and simply, my people have been done wrong. But this has caused my people to rely more heavily on their faith in the hope that God will see us through. See, sometimes stuff happens, and man, we get, you know, this pity party. But that's when you have to rely on God. God, there's a reason that I'm going through this. And that's what my people have done. And that's why sometimes, and I'm speaking for me, I can't speak for everybody, stuff happens. You know, I was at Bassett, and I got moved. I mean, you know, for whatever reason, I got moved. And it's like people like, man, you ought to be down. You know what? Life goes on. This ain't the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I grew up in a home with a mother who made $16,000 a year with 3 kids. 2 of them were drug addicts. 1 of them sold drugs. So getting moved from Bassett was nothing, because I knew that God was going to get me through that just like he got me through everything else. And my people who have been through some things, when stuff happens, man, we still get up the next day and we're resilient. We still find a way to keep going and keep moving. And that's the stuff I like to talk about when it comes to my people. Not all of this negative stuff, but the good stuff, that my people can bounce back. We're resilient. This has caused my people to understand the importance of living as a holy nation and living according to the word of God. We're not perfect Christians, but my people do understand that God's word has power. Example, 2 Timothy 1:7. For God has not given us this spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Not a spirit of fear. Let's go back 1954. Rosa Parks, get on the bus. Rosa Parks knew that if you do wrong, you could be killed, you could be jailed, you could lose your job, your house could be burned, your family could be killed. Lots of bad things could happen. But because she did not have a spirit of fear, she sit down on that bus and I'm not going to get up. And because of Rosa Parks, buses were eventually integrated. But she could have, not had that, spirit of, she could have had a spirit of fear. And that would have made her say, you know what, well, I'm going to get up because I don't want to die. No, Rosa Parks did not have that spirit of fear. Harriet Tubman did not have that spirit of fear. One of our locals, Wendell Scott, I had the privilege of playing basketball for his son, Frank Scott. I had no idea that Wendell Scott was this big deal. He would come to the ball games and he was just some old bow-legged guy with gray hair when he would come. But now we're starting to learn his legacy. Wendell Scott was a big deal. And I want to commend his grandson, Ward Scott, for making sure that we all know. And if you don't know, Wendell Scott was the first African-American to win a NASCAR race. And let me tell you, though, it wasn't easy. Wendell Scott went to one race, and they told him that we have one ambulance, and that ambulance would only transport white people. So therefore, if you get hurt, we can't transport you. So guess what? You can't race today because this ambulance will not transport you. Wendell Scott won one race in his life, and when he won that race, they would not present him with the trophy because the trophy was presented by a white female, and they did not want him to be seen in the picture receiving a trophy from her. So they did not give him the trophy, gave it to somebody else, called him 3 or 4 hours later to tell him that you are the winner, but your trophy's already gone. So, he could not, and that's just the stuff that we know about. Imagine the names he was called, the things he was told. N-word, if you race today, we're going to do this to you, we're going to do that to you. But he did not have a spirit of fear, so he kept on racing. Thurman Eccles did not have a spirit of fear. He walked and marched up and down the streets with Dr. King. He did not have a spirit of fear. Deuteronomy 31:6, be strong and of good courage. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Dr. King, good courage. Every time he spoke, he risked his life. Somebody could have been on top of a building, ready to shoot and kill him. Because the people who would protect him would have been the police officers of that community. And guess what? They probably didn't like him, but because he had good courage and he knew that his mission was from God, he had to go do what he had to do. Jackie Robinson had good courage. Jackie Robinson would play baseball, and when the team went to go on the road, the white counterparts could go to a hotel. Guess what? It was whites only. Jackie would have to find a boarding house to go to and stay at that boarding house. When they went to scout a game, the white players could sit in the regular stands. Jackie had to sit in the balcony of the stands. Now, he's playing on this team. He had to sit in the balcony. There was one incident where somebody threw a black cat on the field and made the comment, that's your cousin, that's your family.